What's up, fight fans? It's your boy Joel, aka Big Sly. I'm here to talk about, as you can see in the title, a hot topic that I get into an argument with every boxing fan I know. That I say Wladimir Klitschko would have been heavyweight champion in almost any era. I get into a heated debate where people take it real personal. People are like, I'm like, yo, calm down. So I know some people are gonna go crazy on this, but I personally don't care. I think Wladimir Klitschko, just on sheer size alone, could compete in any division at any era. As far as the early, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. You had guys like Joe Louis. Joe Louis, I consider to be because I rank fighters by era. So if they were if they were real dominate, depending on who they beat, on how they did it and whatever, that's what I compare. I don't compare. Oh, boy, if he would have fought in this era, he would have been nothing. That's not how I do. I do it by era. So if you fought a whole bunch of bums, but those were the best guys in your era, hey, that's not your fault. The same way I don't penalize Mike Tyson for that. I don't penalize Larry Holmes for that, Lennox Lewis, and I'm not going to penalize Wladimir Klitschko. I believe Wladimir Klitschko would have beat Jack Dempsey, Harry Greb, Joe Louis, all these guys. The reason I think he would have beat Dempsey, he's just he was a real just tough, rugged fighter who just came forward, just straight fighter. And I believe once, and he was like a short dude. I don't remember how tall he was. Tall back in his era, maybe. I think he was like 5'11" or something. Once Wladimir Klitschko lands one punch, because Jack Dempsey fought like at 190, 200. He was like, these days he's a cruiserweight. So once Wladimir Klitschko landed a right hand, he would definitely, all that macho-ness that he comes forward would definitely slow him down. Joe Louis, I know a lot of people are gonna get mad when I said this. He was a bit flat-footed. He didn't really dance per se, like Muhammad Ali would say, whatever. He wouldn't dance. He for his era, he was great. Don't get me wrong. That's why I consider him the greatest heavyweight of all time. He has the most consecutive title defenses in the heavyweight division. So I'm not by no means am I saying he's a bum or anything. I'm just saying if he was to fight Wladimir Klitschko would capitalize on his lack of mobility to move around in the ring, and he would stop Joe Louis. And plus, Joe Louis got knocked down twice by Jersey Joe Walcott. He got knocked down the first round. I believe it was the 13th round against Max Schmeling. He got knocked out when he was older. He got knocked out by Rocky Marciano. So his chin is not, it's not exactly iron. And Wladimir Klitschko is a Dr. Steel Hammer. So I believe he will stop him. Rocky Marciano, undefeated heavyweight, the only undefeated heavyweight champion. He would get knocked out also by Wladimir Klitschko. He's very similar to Jack Dempsey in the sense that he's a pressure fighter. So, but he was real short. He was like 5'9", like $185. So I just think the size difference is just way too big. I believe Wladimir Klitschko would. I believe Jersey Joe Walcott would beat Wladimir Klitschko. The reason is I know a lot of you guys probably don't watch a lot of old tapes. I do. Jersey Joe Walcott was his style, to give you guys an idea, is more similar to like a Floyd Mayweather, James Toney type style. He was very sneaky. He will take one. He'll pressure you. Then he'll take a step to his right, like he's moving away. Then he'll just come back with a nice right hand, and that's how he dropped Joe Louis. He dropped Joe Louis that way. Joe Louis, when he's least expecting, he would drop his hands, walk away, and then just come with a sick right hand. It was like a piston, and I believe he had the mobility enough to move away and make Wladimir chase him, and him capitalize by countering. I believe Jersey Joe Walcott, because Jersey Walcott was a big boy. He was about, he wasn't big in the sense of size. He was about 210 or something like that. I could be wrong on the weight, but he was like 6'1", 6 foot. So he had decent height. Not Wladimir Klitschko is 6'6", but he's not 5'9" like Rocky Marciano. So I believe he has enough mobility and he has enough tricks in his book per se to beat Wladimir Klitschko. As far as the Sonny Liston, that I really have trouble, because Sonny Liston did have a beautiful jab, probably one of the best jab in boxing history. He's definitely top 5 jabs, but he relied a lot on his intimidation factor, and I've never seen Wladimir Klitschko intimidated, and he always came to fight. He always comes and not comes to. I know he doesn't come to fight like a brawl, but he comes to fight, and he comes to fight his fight. And so maybe Sonny Liston will give him trouble. I'm not sure who I will pick in that. Muhammad Ali beats Wladimir Klitschko. Too much athleticism, and he would counter his punches perfectly, and he would stop Wladimir Klitschko. And I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this one, but I think Wladimir Klitschko beats Joe Frazier. Reason is because Joe Frazier had tons of trouble with George Foreman, who's similar, I guess, in size to Wladimir Klitschko. I believe George Foreman was 6'4", and they're both, big power punchers, and I believe George Foreman knocked down Joe Frazier 6 times. So I believe he would have stopped Joe Frazier. George Foreman, a young George Foreman, that's a coin flip. I really don't know who would win that fight. But I would favor George Foreman, but I won't be surprised if Wladimir Klitschko would have won. Larry Holmes, I believe he has the most success against Wladimir Klitschko. Larry Holmes, he was a big boy, 6'4", like 230, 240. Same thing with George Foreman. He was 6'4", 230. That's why I give him a shot against Klitschko. And we all know Klitschko's chin isn't too good, and George Foreman's power is real good. But yeah, Larry Holmes, I think he has the most success against Wladimir Klitschko because he has a nice stiff jab. He has a real nice jab. He has movement, nice defensive movement, and I think he knocks out Wladimir Klitschko early. Tyson against Klitschko, I would favor Tyson because of Vladimir's chin, but I won't be surprised if Wladimir wins because Tyson always had trouble with tall guys. We saw it against Lennox Lewis, and we saw it against James Buster Douglas. He has troubles against tall guys, like big tall guys. Like I know to us regular size guys, 6'3" is big, but I'm talking about tall, like 6'6", 6'7", and I believe Buster Douglas was 6'6", and so is Wladimir. So I will favor Tyson, but it'll be a close fight. I think Wladimir Klitschko has more trouble in the 90s era than he does in the 70s, because people say the 70s are the best heavyweights. They got Foreman, Frazier, and Ali. I believe Ali wins hands down. George Foreman, it's close, and I think he crushes Joe Frazier. But in the 90s, you got Tyson, Bo, and Holyfield. Oh, and Lennox Lewis. And I don't think he beats either one. Maybe Tyson. Tyson's a close one. I don't think he beats Holyfield. Holyfield will get inside and stay inside and just break your will. Riddick Bowe is just as big as him. Big fighter, and not scared to go toe to toe. He has a great chin. And Lennox Lewis, although he has a questionable chin, he's just as tall, knows how to use his height, and I believe he's a harder hitter than Wladimir Klitschko. I know the knockout percentages. Wladimir probably has more knockouts, but I just think Lennox Lewis's wins are better than Vladimir's, and so that's why he has less knockouts or whatever, less knockout percentages. So that's basically how I see Wladimir in every era and against most fighters or whatever. You know, I believe Wladimir Klitschko beats a lot of fighters now, because I believe this is his prime now. I know a lot of people, well, you talk about a guy who lost to Layman Brewster, you know, but I don't believe he was at his peak then. I believe he's at his peak now. You know, I believe he's won his last 10 fights, 8 of them by knockouts. You know, so I believe this Wladimir Klitschko beats every guy I just mentioned. He beats Joe Louis, Jack Dempsey, Rocky Marciano, Joe Frazier. You know, I believe he beats these guys just because of his size, power, ring generalship, his jab, and yeah. And the guys who I picked that could beat him, you know, with the exception of Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali, I still give him a shot. In Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali, I don't think he has no shot in those fights. I just believe these two guys are out of his league, you know. But yeah, I believe that's how it would go. He would beat these guys, most of these guys, and considering that in those days there was only one champion, so if you would beat Rocky Marciano, he was champion. He would have been champion. So I believe in most eras he would have been champion. Maybe not the 70s because of Muhammad Ali, and maybe not the 90s because of Riddick Bowe and all those guys and Holyfield. But I definitely think he's competitive in every era, and he's definitely a top 10 and maybe a champion in every era until he gets knocked off, obviously. So let me know what you guys think. You know, leave a comment right down there, and I'll get back to you guys. Peace.